Happy Friday, PSWs and friends across Ontario and Canada. We are back with PSW Podcast, the first PSW podcast of 2026. I can't believe that we're already here and we're already doing this PSW podcast. And of course, my name is Miranda Romanovich. I'm the CEO of the Ontario PSW Association and host of PSW Podcast, where we come to you guys live every single Friday at 11 a.m., where we come to you on Facebook and, of course, on our TikTok, where we talk about the real issues of the PSW field and we ask a lot of questions that we are looking for answers to. And of course, as usual, I am joined by Ian De Silva, my co-host and my chief operating officer of both the Ontario PSW Association and the Canadian Support Workers Association. And Ian, this one today, we are hitting it out of the park. We are talking about topic blamed instead of protected, the PSW reality. But we're going to start this off with something a little different. Earlier this week, the Ministry of Long-Term Care made an announcement, and we're going to get into it, Ian.
Absolutely. So we heard that there's 26 million being earmarked to hire about 3,000 new staff, nurses, PSWs, and some other staff. And a lot of this is being earmarked for living classrooms and through Schlegel Village. Now, Schlegel Village has been doing living classrooms for decades. So this is not a new thing by any means, and it's money well spent, at least in our opinion. Living classrooms do make some sense. We do have some concerns about making sure that those in those classrooms are a bit more aware of some of the field issues on the field so that they can better protect themselves. But in general, that's not a huge bad thing at all. We think the one thing that's noted though is the amount the statement that they have increased the number of hours per care by 1 hour per resident across Ontario. So we found that interesting. And after 2000, this is going back to 2021, we've seen a 36% increase. So since 2021 to today, we now have an extra hour of care for PSWs. That is not a brag at all. That's no brag. We've had 3 years to get an extra hour of care. And the anecdotal evidence and the responses we're seeing from our membership is these numbers cannot be correct. There's a lot of concern. There's been reports and questions are they using restorative hours, for example, when calculating these provincial averages? So, for example, personal support work can be sometimes interpreted as companionship care. So if you go visit your family, that could be used as an hour in long-term care to say that they're giving you an extra hour of care.
Yeah.
That's the concern. Now, we don't know if that's what's happening, but it's possible that the numbers are being used or interpreted that way to show that there's additional care. Now, the reason why we find this interesting is because we're getting inundated with PSWs in long-term care in the Greater Toronto Area saying that they're working doubles, triple shifts because they're so understaffed. So
Yeah.
how do we reconcile those two issues? Where is the truth? When our PSW members are saying they're working doubles and triples, and the Ministry of Long-Term Care staff are saying that they're now achieving these objectives, I'm gonna call out something. There is a disconnect here because even within my own family, I'm seeing a lot more issues in long-term care than I did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So there's something has changed in long-term care. I don't know what has changed, but it seems like there's a lot more smoke and mirrors because the
Yeah.
experiences on the ground are not reflecting what the ministry is saying. So
No, because isn't
that's what I'm
that's the first thing we do at the association is as soon as they come out with one of these great press releases that tout all the success in long-term care, which I pray is true, okay?
saying.
We go straight to the PSWs. We go straight to you guys and we ask those questions. I mean, I go live all the time on here with TikTok. I go, we ask questions here on Facebook all the time because we want to know what the truth is. And what we're hearing, the consensus from our membership and from PSWs at large is we're still working short. We're burnt out. There's not enough staff. I'm working triples. I'm working doubles. I don't know where the hell they're getting these numbers from.
We don't know either.
We don't know either. And, and I don't think that's very fair to families, to the public, if you're going to do a smoke and mirrors situation, or you're going to fudge the numbers or take the numbers from somewhere else to make it seem like the care is actually being given to these residents.
Yeah, because if you walk, are they, I mean, how, it depends on how honorable or ethical the reporting system is. I mean, do they count cares if you, as I said earlier, you pop in to visit your parents for 20 minutes, it's documented as companionship. That gets bundled into the reporting issue as PSW care,
Yeah.
and it's rounded up to an hour. How do you know?
Fair. It's not fair.
It's not, I mean,
No, and
I hope, I hope it's the case, but
well, and I'm just going to say shout out to the nurses, honestly, for getting that all that extra money for nurses to go
absolutely.
into long-term care. I think that's great. The government has put millions of dollars behind training more nurses in living classrooms so that
Yeah.
they can work in long-term care. I'm just really hoping the way I kind of read that press release is that nurses are now going to be helping the personal
Oh, yeah.
support workers with the personal care and long-term
Yeah,
care. That's the
that's
way I read it. And if that's the case, that's great because then the team is really going to become a team.
well, I mean, in the original, when the long-term care was originally set up, nurses were the primary caregivers in long-term care. Like
Yes.
that's what they showed. And over time, they've distanced themselves from that specific role. But I guess the new regulations, or at least the way it's coming, is that those nurses are going to start playing a more active role in delivering personal care. So the association is looking at developing some training to assist with this because if you do have loved ones in personal care and there's nurses there, I mean, there is expectation now you can ask that nurse to perform that care regardless of their duties as per the ministry's direction. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, I just find that it's like we really, the government, the Ministry of Long-Term Care has really kicked it out in the beginning of 2026, where I guess I have a lot of hopes, but I have far more questions than I have anything else. Seeing as how, I mean, and this is where I feel for the public is that they don't have that necessarily that opportunity where they can just ask the front line point carte blanche, is this real or not? Where we do. And so, like I was on TikTok Live on Wednesday night and I brought this up with the PSWs. We had about 80 PSWs on our TikTok Live. And they all came back with a resounding, what the heck are they talking about?
Yeah.
There's no way in hell that that's what the case is. They're still struggling just to get all their basic needs met, the residents' basic needs met in long-term care. So, I'm skeptical. I'm hopeful. I have a lot of questions, and I hope the Ministry of Long-Term Care becomes more transparent and actually, offers up answers to these questions.
We would
Mo-
we would we would always welcome an opportunity to speak with the Ministry of Long-Term Care. The Ministry of Long-Term Care isn't terribly communicative with the PSW population. They really do view the PSW population as being an appendage of nothing, really. So we're trying to remedy that at the association level. However, we would call on them to do a little bit more focus on the largest workforce in the long-term care sector, which is the PSW, and again, if they are really talking about patient care, which is the reason why that exists, we really want to make sure that that focus is back on patients, which takes us to the next part of our conversation because patient care and abuse and PSW abuse. Miranda, do you want to jump on the next one area?
Yeah, absolutely. So, over the holidays, we shared a video, a little clip from one of our past PSW podcasts where we talked about PSWs, it being one of the most dangerous jobs in healthcare. And it is. And you guys can come at me all you want about that, but we have statistics to show and prove that that is the case. Um, and also that PSWs, like your guys are like, and it was my chiropractor who said it. And I spoke to him yesterday when I saw him and I said, you got your butts kicked. And he said, no, I said, PSWs get their ass handed to them. So I might get canceled for saying that. But, he said, that's just the truth of it. And it is the truth of it. But what was really concerning to us at the association was the responses that we were getting from the PSWs in the comment section. And a lot of it was, they get the crap kicked out of them by a resident, by a client, something goes wrong. And the first thing that employers or supervisors say to them is, what could you have done differently? So there's a such thing as positive criticism or, a teaching opportunity. But when a PSW, and this has happened to me where I did nothing wrong with my resident had dementia, wonderful old lady, and I went in and I went to perform her AM care. And she decided that that was the day that she was going to haul off and punch me in the nose.
Yes, she
I
decided that.
did absolutely nothing wrong in that moment. I was there. I was not being aggressive. I was not being, I was doing my job. I was doing it well. And that was the day she decided to do that. I can promise you that if someone had said to me, what could you have done differently? I might have hauled off and hit them in the face because, this is PSWs on the daily. We're expected to take abuse. It's like people say, and a lot of times, and unfortunately, it's employers that say, well, it's just a part of the job. No, it's not. It should not be a part of the job. And for the PSWs that are being asked, what could you have done differently? You need to stand up for yourself and say, nothing.
And I think what we need is a pathway. Now, the what could you have done differently is a wonderful open-ended question, and the PSW can answer that. But if the PSW in our membership specifically, if you're ever brought in a situation where what could you have done differently is the response to an abuse, we need you to tell the association because we need to ask the long-term care facility that exact same question. What could you have done differently? Why do you have such shorting staffing levels? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Let us know. Long-term care has worked to strive to provide better care over the last decade. This would help them do it.
It would honestly.
It
And
would.
we're not just talking about long-term care. I mean, we have PSWs that are going into clients' houses, like going doing home care. And we've had PSWs come to us over the holidays where they said, I go into this home, but the son, the
Yeah.
spouse, whoever is abusive and very intimidating to me, and I don't want to go into this home, and my supervisor keeps putting them on my schedule. You
Yeah,
have a
that's
right
the thing now.
to decline care. You have a right to say no to going into a client.
Of
Now, I'm
course.
going to take that back for a second and I'm going to say, however, it better be a valid reason. You can't
Absolutely.
say, I don't want to go in because they're smokers. You can't say, I don't want to go in because there's a dog. You can't say, I don't want to go in because I don't perform care on males. I only perform care on females. I said it. You cannot do those things. Smoking, they can be told to stop smoking within an hour to 2 hours prior to your arrival. Number one, dog, cat, whatever it is, they can put that animal into a room that you don't access and you don't go into.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's steps that can be taken to provide that safe environment for you to go into. And when it comes to your cultural and your religious beliefs, I appreciate that. I understand that. But when you get into healthcare, you never say no to providing care to someone in need. As PSWs, we may not take an oath, but we do take an oath to ourselves and to those that we care for. And we don't have that right to say, I don't like you because you're X, Y, and Z. I don't want to perform that care. That's not your right. So in situations like that, yeah, no, the association won't back you. If you come to us and say,
No,
I don't want to perform care because they're, you know,
one caveat to smoking is if the person you walk in the house and they have a cannabis joint lit, you can't go in, especially
no,
if you're driving. Like you
yes.
can't go in that house. So that's the caveat is you can't go in there because you'll get intoxicated as well and you're now at risk. So we do have a policy to protect you, just making sure that's out there. But it's amazing. Like this whole what could you have done better thing. Like it's so insulting. It's
It
so
is
insulting.
insulting because if you're thinking about it in long-term care and you have, at least 10 residents that are you're caring for, and you're trying your best to get through all of their activities of daily living that they require that day from you in that shift, and something happens because I don't know, if the person's having a bad day. I mean, we're dealing with people a lot of times with mental health, with dementia, with all these different, there's a lot of factors in place that are not the personal support worker's fault. And it doesn't matter how much training you have, GPA, de-escalation, mental health training, it don't matter. If that person pops off, that person pops off.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about that. But to shame the PSW instead of supporting them is what really gets me going
Yeah,
because
and you
it's
don't
disgusting.
no, you don't shame the PSW for doing that. The association, however, can ask questions about the employer if that employer asks those subsequent questions to our membership.
Yeah.
What could you have done differently? It's a really good question. Worthy of its own campaign, I think, in long-term care.
Yeah. What could you have done
What could
differently?
you have done differently?
Yeah.
I mean, we just have to look up our archives of long-term care abuses in Ontario, and I got about 40.
I know, right?
So
I know.
I'm not exactly sure what the celebrations are about, but I wouldn't put my family in long-term care. I know that. See, absolutely.
It's Oh, it is such, I don't know, like the whole long-term care situation, home care. I'm smiling because I'm exhausted for our members and for PSWs, and I'm exhausted for families in Ontario that have to deal with this on the day to day as well. Like, we're dealing with one of our my personal life, one of our friends' husband died. She's in her 80s. She has personal support worker care, but her son's now there and has no idea what's going on. He has no idea who to call. He doesn't know what to do. He has no idea what's going on. And that's what we hear too at the association all the time is, what do I do? And one thing I would definitely recommend as well, and we always say this too, is people always wait till the last minute to learn about things like personal support workers and what we can and cannot do and what, services we offer. And I always say to the public is you gotta learn earlier. I know this is not something that any of us want to talk about or even converse about because it's a lot of times it's end of life. We're dealing with people that are sick, that are injured. These are things that people don't want to look at because ignorance is bliss. But if you are not aware of what there is out there, then when it hits you like a Mack truck, because it does, you don't even know where to start.
And you're in shock, and it
Yeah.
doesn't help.
No.
And we do a lot of we're taught from the beginning. We go to public school, start planning your life. What do you want to do? What do you want to become? I'm gonna be a firefighter, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then you get into college. Okay, you're gonna buy. There's all this life planning, and then it just stops once you get into about middle age. It's like you're done now. You've gone, but no one plans for. Very few of us plan for the future. And I think that's why we are trying to push more things like insurance for members and insurance for PSWs. So we should give a shout out to
Mr. Andy. Andy Kovac is our broker, and he provides the insurance for our PSWs when it comes to our accident insurance, our health and dental benefits. Andy Kovacs is amazing. He offers accident insurance to our PSWs for $7 a month, guys.
it's a good price.
$7 a month, and you could be protected. This is all about ensuring that you have wages and that you have money in case something happens to you while you are on the job and you can't work for a while. And so it's really important that you guys look at this stuff because if you don't, I mean, we've had now Andy's told us some wonderful stories,
Oh yeah,
not wonderful, but pertinent to this, where a PSW, she found out she had cancer
yeah.
and she couldn't work. And she had this a certain type of insurance with Andy, which was not expensive at all. And she was able to receive money and be able to stay off work and get and care for herself while also paying for her mortgage and her bills.
Yeah, she just stopped working, but the bills kept getting paid because of the insurance, and she was able to focus on just her health.
Yep.
So and the stories are like I signed up as well. Actually, I thought the rates were quite reasonable and the coverage was exceptional. So personally, I even my own self, I signed myself up for it as well. I'm not a PSW, so I was more worried about thinking about what happens if I slip or I have a head injury, like something that I can't control. Maybe
No.
it's worth having. And these are things that I think we want to encourage the membership in our population that we are all going to get older and you want to start planning for things that the what ifs. And yeah, I think that's an important thing. So huge shout out to
But
Andy.
also protecting yourself on the job as a PSW. I mean, we still get those questions from PSWs where they're like, "Well, why do I need insurance?" And it's like, guys, doctors have it, nurses have it, because at any given time, and I don't know where this mythical idea came from that employers will protect you if something happens on the job. I don't know where this
Or
came from. Some employers will assist, they will stand by you, but many of them are not going to, they're going to defend the company. They're not going to defend you. And that's a normal thing,
that's
guys.
not
This
evil.
is
That's
it's not evil.
numerical. It's
It's
business.
exactly, it's business. At the end of the day, unfortunately, healthcare is business, and that's what they're going to do. So you have to make sure that you are protected. Because if you're not protected, you could stand to lose everything. We've seen PSWs lose
It
everything.
happened.
We've
There is
seen it
no
happen.
there's we have a person that wasn't even a member that was in jail. People have lost their homes. Like it's the whole idea of it can't happen to me. I have a union. I have an employer that I've worked with for 20 years that I'm like this with,
At
there's
the
no
end of
sort
the
of guide.
day, that company, that's that owner's livelihood, and they're going to fight for the company, not
Yes.
for you.
They have to fight for the company, especially if you're for those in long-term care and retirement homes. You have to understand, unless you're in a municipal home, you're in a privately run facility. If your employer is, and I'm not naming companies, but there's a bunch of them out there, I don't even know where to start. But
Right.
if it's an employer, that employer has an obligation to their shareholders first and foremost. They have to make sure their shareholders get a return on investment that keeps them competitive. In that environment, be very realistic about where you stand in relation to that corporation. That's how you have to think about it. So I get extended care, ParaMed, all these companies, they do good work. They're there for the right reasons, I think. We hope. But at the end of the day, they're corporations and they're responsible to their shareholders. We just ask you to remember that when you're working with them. It's
Yeah. And I love it too. Can I just address one more thing? I love it too when PSWs tell us that ops was a money grab.
yeah, no,
And I'm just going to say that point blank. It's not a money
no,
grab.
not a money
It's
grab.
not a money grab at all. I mean, if you guys think about it, with every membership of the association, you receive at least $2 million professional liability insurance. So that's in the cost of membership. You receive 50,000 abuse coverage. That's in the cost of membership. You receive an ID badge that identifies you as a personal support worker. That is also in the cost of membership. And you do a yearly criminal record check. That is also in the cost of membership. So at the end of the day, the association does not make bank off the PSWs.
No,
We've
and
kept the cost down for a reason because we know that many of you guys cannot afford large sums of money and we want to ensure that you are protected. And I'm also going to point out that our membership is tax deductible, which means it's not a money grab. You get your money back with your taxes.
yes, I do. Yes, you do.
So I just had to say that because I'm like, guys.
And as we move into 2026, we're strongly encouraging PSWs take your careers more seriously. We're moving into a regulated structure in Ontario. There's going to be a need for more habit of taking your own careers responsibly, as nurses do, as registered nurses do, as doctors do. You want to be a part of the health team. This is one of the responsibilities you need to take on yourself, and it's a good one to have to protect yourself and your families, and the benefits
Exactly.
you get with Sun Life as well, and the additional training you get at half price. There's quite a lot of things you can get through us. So
A lot of things. And I just wanted to mention as well to the PSWs that are watching us that are members of the association, we got confirmation the other day that your police check with OPSWA can be used for your registration with the HESCAPOA. So this is a really big thing. You don't need to pay for your criminal record check again through the HESCAPOA. You can use your OPSWA criminal record check with HESCAPOA to register with them as well. So we were really thrilled to hear that from the CEO of HESCAPOA. And thank you, Trevor, for confirming that for us and our members. So, it's things are moving and grooving for PSWs Ian in 2026. Like you said, we're really moving towards a regulatory structure for personal support workers. There's going to be expectations put on us, which we should not be surprised nor against, really, at the end of the day, because like Haskapoa was built to protect the public and OPSWA is to protect the PSW. And us two in this space, I think is going to be, I know is going to be one heck of a ride and a jam, and it's going to be really good. We still have some battles on the horizon, like I've said as well. We're not stopping with the fight for PSWs prior to 2014 with the HESCAPOA. That is not off the table. We are still actively in conversations with the Ministry of Health and with HESCAPOA surrounding that. HESCAPOA did not make that decision though, just FYI to everyone. That was the Ministry of Health that had made that decision. I just wanted to point that out because next Friday on PSW Podcast, I'm being joined yet again by the CEO of HESCAPOA, Mr. Trevor Lee, where we're going to be talking again about, myth busting, talking about the HESCAPOA, really breaking it down for PSWs in the province of Ontario so that you have an understanding about it. I invite all PSWs that watch this, if you have any questions that you would like me to ask the CEO of the HESCAPOA, please email them to us or put it underneath this thread, and I'll make sure to ask Trevor those questions next Friday. And as well, we are also hosting a joint town hall with HESCAPOA at the end of this month on January 28th. Well, you have two different times, one at 10 a.m. and one at 6 p.m. And where Ian and myself are going to be joined by Trevor, the CEO of HESCAPOA, and Deborah, who is high up there, but I don't remember her title, and I apologize because she's phenomenal. And we're going to be answering your questions, and we're going to be talking about HESCAPOA and OPSWA, the difference between the two, and how we work together to regulate and also better the careers and the lives of PSWs in the province of Ontario. So that's going to be really exciting as
Absolutely.
well. So there's
Deborah
a
Cohen.
lot. Yeah, Deborah
Deborah's very
Cohen.
knowledgeable. Deborah Cohen's very knowledgeable on this element. She can answer a lot of questions. So if you have an opportunity, please, she's
Yeah,
ready.
ask away. We'll be taking questions in the webinar, obviously. But remember, he's going to be with me live on PSW Podcast next Friday. So if you have any questions, please make sure to put them down below here on Facebook or send us an email, which all information is easy to find in our profile on TikTok and in our profile on Facebook. So you can always find us to send a message. But remember, PSWs, every day when you go out and you do your job and you do a good job and you know you're doing it right and you know you're not in the wrong, I always say that if I'm to blame, I will accept it with grace and I will work on myself. But if I'm not to blame, I will fight to the death. And so that's what something I want to give you guys is if you are not to blame, fight to the death, because at the end of the day, you know what you're doing, you have the skill set, and you are the last barrier of defense for those residents, clients, and patients. And you need to act as such.
Don't be apologists for a system that you didn't break nor can you fix. Do
Amen.
your best.
Amen. Amen. Because without PSWs, Ian, the system would topple. I'm going to say it again and
There,
again
there
and
wouldn't be
again.
enough staff to do the job. They would be like some post-apocalyptic scene in a long-term care home. It would be devastating.
It would
I'm
be
not even saying
devastating.
that. Like, it would be devastating. It would be
It would
devastating.
be. We kind of saw it a little bit through COVID.
Well, the military had to come in,
Yeah.
but they wanted danger pay because PSWs. We'll leave it there.
And you know
We'll
what? We're
leave
going to get
it
into that, guys, further later in the month. We're going to be talking about statistics and how we're going to share those statistics with you guys on what we have found. Well, I say Ian has found with WSIB and a lot of other things. And we're going to share about how the PSW is actually far more interesting than what many of us think it is.
Probably early
So,
February to get
early
the right number.
February?
Yeah,
Okay, early February.
yeah.
I like that. I like that. So remember, guys, every Friday night we also go live on TikTok for OPSWA After Dark. So make sure to head over to our TikTok tonight, where I'll be going live and answering questions and talking PSW. It's always great to get on there and talk to each and every one of you. And of course, Ian and Nicole are always there as well, and Becca. Those of you that are on there know Becca's always in the background as a peanut gallery. So thanks so much, guys, for joining us yet again on PSW Podcast, first one of 2026. Thank you again for constantly supporting us and being here. We honestly are so humbled by so much of your support over the years, and we look forward to making 2026 one hell of a year for PSWs. So it's going to be something. So thanks so much, everyone. Remember, if you're not a member yet, you can go over to our website, join as a member. It's all tax deductible. If you're not a member, you're not protected. So make sure you guys get on that. Go ahead, Ian.
Remember the public and you just want to look about what PSW's code of conduct is and responsibilities, please have a look too. It'll give you some idea if you're looking at hiring a PSW for yourself.
Absolutely. And one last thing, we have updated all of our standards of practice and they are on the website. So make sure you guys go check out our new standards of practice on our website. We've added a whole bunch more. So it was a busy holiday season for OPSWA. So thanks so much, Ian, again for joining us on PSW Podcast. We'll be back again next Friday with Trevor Lee, the CEO of HESCAPOA. So stay tuned. Have a great day, guys. And with that, we're going to say OPSWA out.